I wanted to make this video explaining just a Sims video because I don't want it to be too forward or too overbearing. I wanted to play some Sims, but I thought I'd share my story on my ex. Um, so basically, I was dating someone who love bombed me, was a narcissist, and possibly sexually assaulted me. So when I first when we first started dating, everything seemed fine. His behaviors were odd. Like every time something happened between us, he would walk off, and it would generate a lot of anxiety for me. Uh, I got told that like it could be possible controlling, which was a red flag. Obviously, at the time, I chose to ignore it because, it was first relationship for me. I didn't want anything, bad to happen. I wanted to keep the relationship, Uh, but obviously had a few little iffy problems, but it wasn't much to be concerned about. So, so obviously, I don't want to generate hate to this person, but I don't want to like bring hate to this person. I don't want them to be harassed, but for the safety of other people, I want to I want to help other people because if he's gonna be with another person, that's fine, but I want people to be warned so that if they do experience the same things as me, they've got backup. Now, obviously, I could get him done for sexual assault, of course, but I'm choosing not to. I'm pretty sure that is my decision because there's messages and images. I've done a fair few things that I don't feel good about because of my separation anxiety and a lot of things that were going on. Um, so obviously I don't want to do anything, but I I just want to help and support other people who might be going through the same situation as me, or might end up being with him. So his name's obviously don't generate hate to this person. Please do not go after them. But if you know them or anything, their name's Jack Fryer, of course. Um, I don't want to cause them too many problems, but so of course, so the first reason we started doing anything with each other was because he decided that he wanted to look at other women in very inappropriate ways, um, which made me feel really like not good about myself. And so I tried convincing him not to do it. I gave him other options, and eventually I settled for fine. We'll do stuff together. Obviously, I can't say too much about it, of course. Sorry, my game's lagging a bit. So things. So after a little bit, I don't know where to go with this really, but things were alright between us. It got to the point where we were always around each other, which became a problem and generated separation anxiety for me. And I'm still young, obviously, so it makes no sense to me, but we started having conversations about having children. Uh, and obviously, I said, maybe, I'm not really sure. Um, and he kind of started to force it on me. Like, he'd be like, oh, kids, it's going to be so great. We'll have a family together. And it's like, it, kids are not really something I'm looking for. I didn't know how to tell it to him. So eventually I said to him, because it was getting quite forceful to the point where we having really bad arguments, and I ended up punching a wall out of frustration and misery because I was getting nowhere in my opinions as he was shutting me down constantly. Um, and it was just one of those really where I just thought if I can't get anywhere with him, I'll just shut it down completely, and then, you know, maybe things will change in the future. Obviously, no, got a bit of harassment from his friends about it. Apparently, they were just trying to help, but one of his friends turned around and said to me, "Oh, why wouldn't you want to have a child with a person you love?" And I was like, "It's not that like I don't love him. It's just like I'd prefer like to just be us two, my fish and stuff." But it was just one of those where I was getting nowhere with them. Um, and it's like it started getting to the point where like if anything happened, if anything went wrong, I would get kicked out of an Xbox party, and then he'd invite me back like later, and I felt like I had to be with him all the time and stuff, and I'd beg him to let me come back. Um, and it was getting all too much and stuff. And there have been a few situations. So like when he wanted me, like he used to say like I was uh I was in care. Obviously, I'm 18 now, so I'm a care leaver. But he would say, "Oh, your carers are horrible. Your carers are this, that, and the t'other." But then when he wanted me gone, he would say stuff like, "Oh, why don't you go hang around with your carers and stuff?" And it's like he would always take jokes too far. It's like one time he took the mick out of one of my bears, saying, "Oh, he has uh, his nose looks like I can't obviously say his name, but obviously a very bad person that were from Germany, of course, one of the leaders of Germany back in the day. So can't say his name or anything, but and it was just one of those really, and it was all yeah, it was getting a lot. It was like there was a few comments that he made. I said to him that I wanted to get my cut my hair, and I did just obviously say to him not too short because you know it's not really I don't want to have anything too short because it's not what I'm looking for. Um, and of course he was like, "Oh, you'll just end up looking like a lesbian," and I don't really like people uh with short hair, and I was like, well, if he doesn't like people with short hair, that's fine, but this is my decision, and I was hoping that he'd support me on that. When I did cut my hair, he was pretty angry about it, obviously. And it was obviously annoying to deal with, but it was just one of those. Uh, this is like difficult for me. But also when it came to like the whole like pregnancy thing, it obviously got continuously like forced onto me for quite some time, to the point where like I said to him, I was like, fine, we'll just have the one child. And he was like, oh, no, 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 you can't just close it down to just the one child. And I was like, all right, fine. And he always said to me that he would never leave if I made the decision, obviously, to not have a kid. But it turned from unconditional love to it, like I had to meet the condition of wanting a child. And like it was always, it's like he would always there was one time where I was crying over the things that I did, because I used to have self-harm and stuff whenever he left me because of my separation anxiety. And I said to him multiple times, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. I tried after my 18th, when he completely blocked me on everything. I did speak to him about the whole situation, and I did try and get better as best as I could because of that. But obviously, I should have realized that he wasn't going to be any different, and I didn't realize that what people were trying to tell me at the time, because it was like, um, he, he was obviously, he was obviously, kind of messing about with me, really. And it's like, it was difficult. He never really supported me in some of my decisions, and also that reminds me, there was this one time where um oh, sorry, my brain. But no, it was just, yeah, the day that we split up, he said that he was gonna do better and that we should try for the relationship. But it turns out that was an entire lie. He made me feel so happy that day. He was like constantly messaging me, even though he was at college, because I kept waking up to messages and stuff. But he was just doing it because he kind of knew that he was gonna leave me. And I think he'd been planning it for some time. Like, we'd always have arguments and stuff. Like, one night I woke up crying up while I was crying, tried to go to bed with him, tried to go to sleep, I couldn't stop crying. It's about 1 a.m. and he started hitting himself. And then he yelled at me, probably waking up his entire family, and got extremely pissed at me for waking him up because I was crying. And he has something called OCD, which was a pretty big thing for me to deal with, but it also caused a lot of like harm to myself, because my knuckles got really dry from all the washing of my hands that I had to do. It was really difficult. Um, I'm not trying to play the victim or anything here, because I know a lot of things that I did was wrong. I am trying to move on and forget about them, because it's not something that I want to remember. But I guess it's like I grew so used to him being there that I just didn't want him to go. And the thing is, it took me a while to realize that this man was just, after he left, I got sad, but then now talking over the situations and stuff, I kind of realized that like people were right. He's not a good person. He was quite controlling of every situation. Like he'd make me feel like really guilty. And it's like whenever, because there was a lot of conversations that were never resolved because he would always say to me, "Oh, let's not ruin the mood now. Let's try and get things back like to a good position." But it wasn't like, oh, to a good position of where we worked things out. It was a good position on where like he'd swept everything under the rug, and anytime I tried to bring things up and solve them, he would just say, "You're bringing up the past. Leave the past behind. Or stop doing this. Stop doing that. You're ruining the mood." And it just, and I said to him once, and this is my own personal opinion. This is for everyone to judge as much as they want because it doesn't bother me. But he said to me, well, no, I said to him that if you want to leave, that's fine. But if you're going to leave over a child that never existed, that you pretty much forced me into trying to want to have, then you didn't care about this relationship at all. Because it wasn't like he wanted to try. It wasn't like he wanted to like do anything. It was just he was playing about with me. Because I remember if we did anything of like anything adultish, let's just say, it was like he would constantly, like, if I said no, he would constantly say, "Oh yeah, but it's not too bad," and "Oh yeah, like if I didn't want to do anything, he would then also say, "Oh then, but then can you at least do something for me?" Like even when I was upset, it was like he would like try and get me out of being upset, and then you know and then once I wasn't upset, he would ask for those things. I don't want to like bring problems to his life. That's also why I don't want to get the police involved. But it's like I kind of should have known stuff was off because he used, when we was just dating in like college, he would try and do stuff without my permission as much as I tried to shove him off. Bearing in mind he's a lot bigger than me, so it was like one of those. But I just want to help and support other people and also protect other people who could be in the same situation as me with him, because he generally was a controlling person who just wanted to like make every situation in his control really. There's so many things that I could talk about that he's done. It's just some of it's just not coming to mind. But even when I told him, "Oh, I don't want to do this stuff because I'm too anxious about it," it was like he didn't care for my anxiety, he didn't care for my pain, he just wanted to get stuff out of me. And I've dealt with boys like that in the past. I've never had like dates and stuff, but I've had boys in the past who've tried to do stuff with me. And it's obviously, it's something that I'm used to, so like he once convinced me not to use protection, so because he said, "Oh, just one last time, one last time," and I ended up having so much anxiety that I had to go to a walk-in centre. Obviously, he came with, but I had to go into a walk-in centre, and I should have said something then, but I was so wrapped up in my relationship, I didn't want to say anything. But when she said, "Oh, like, does he do stuff without consent?" I should have said something back then, and I like, if I could tell myself that. If I could tell myself, stop thinking about being with him and actually respect yourself, then I could have been in a lot better position. It was just when you're so in love with that person, you don't really care as much. It's like things are going on, but it's like you'd rather be with them. And it's just one of those where if I could turn back time and actually tell myself, give myself some advice, then it would be to get out of that relationship as soon as I possibly could. Because, like I said, yes, I've done stuff wrong. It's just I'm willing to acknowledge that. And it's just the problem with him is he was so manipulating and so narcissistic. And he would always, like, he was just generally a controlling person. And it's like, right. But no, I do wish that I could have changed things because I feel so disgusting with myself that I let anything like that happen to myself. But in my opinion, as long as I can help and protect other people from what's happened to me, then at least I'm doing something right. But no, I think many people warned me about him because he would always say, "Oh," he would always split up with me and then say that he was sorry and he wanted to be with me and that he wanted to spend his rest of his life with me no matter what, kid or no kid. Like he would always split up and then drag me right back in. And it's like I said to one of my old carers, I said, it's like he loves me, then he hates me, then he wants me, and then he doesn't want me. And it's like I don't know what I'm supposed to do because he just doesn't make his mind up. Part of me thinks he was planning to ditch me all along. He just wanted to mess about with me because he knows how much it would affect me because of how I've reacted in the past to things. I reacted quite poorly. I just, I'm disgusted with myself. But as long as I can help other people in the same situation, and that's really all that matters. I'm not doing this for personal gain, I'm not doing this to try and ruin someone's life, but if it means protecting other people, then I will literally do whatever it takes. So I don't know why my game's so bad. But no, I will say try and look out for someone. If they if they do if they make you feel comfortable and they don't make you feel safe, like I stopped communicating with my boyfriend because I was so, well, my ex, sorry, I got confused then, but I stopped being with him. Well, no, sorry, my brain. It's really difficult for me to talk about this, and that's why I'm struggling to get my words down, struggling for my brain to like focus. But like, I stopped communicating with my partner because I was scared of how like he would raise his voice and he'd get quite shouty. He would never listen to me. He would just say, "Oh, you're shouting over the top of me." So maybe I've got that confused at some point, but it seemed that way to me. When I posted a couple of Instagram reels on my Insta, he said that I was lying and that I was a psycho and that I needed help. But I'm kind of glad that he blocked me because it was just going to remain as friends. But I want to get this out to as many people as possible so that if anybody does end up with him, that Yes, he's a kind person. Yes, he's caring. But sometimes that caring behavior that he shows is just because he wants something. He literally made me feel like all he wanted from me was a child. Because I remember in the messages that I last sent to him, I literally said to him I was not an incubator for his children. And that's one main reason why I would never have I would have never had kids with him, because at the end of the day it's just not something that I can accept. But he did make it feel a lot of the times like he once told me that I owed him a child and that I'd make him very miserable and depressed, and he'd be so miserable and so depressed like if he didn't get a child. But it was just one of those with him. He was a narcissist and a person who just didn't care about anything but a child, really. And that's just putting it politely. He also once shouted at me for spilling uh, like this bottle of Coke fizzed over once, and he shouted at me because I got it all over the floor and on the bed as well. And he shouted at me for ages until his mum came in the room and was wondering what the hell was going on because of all the arguing, well, all the shouting that he was doing. And that's why I was scared to go near those Coke bottles. For quite some time, I had to get them removed by someone else because I didn't want to go near them. But I think that's all I can think of off the top of my head for now. So yeah, that's my story, and I'll always acknowledge the wrongs that I did in that relationship, and I will do better for the next person that I'm with. But I just hope whoever is with him next, he finally learns to treat them right.